Hi, beautiful human. I am Zach. That is Dan. And clearly we are in the presence of a legend, one of a kind. They don't make human beings like this anymore. One half of Hall & Oates. He sold over 80 million records. Say hello to John Oates.
Hey.
Hi, I don't know where I'm looking, but where I'm looking. Hi, everybody. Well, thank you for including me in the beautiful human category. I think you did. I'm not sure.
100%, of course.
Wow.
Beautiful beyond measure, genuinely, and has created records that have brought out the beautiful sides of many, many people, genuinely.
Thank you.
Supplied a soundtrack to American society and global society. It's pretty crazy. It is nuts. Like, does that... I want to get into the new album, but
of course.
Do you think at all in your life about the size and magnitude of the catalog that you have under your possession?
I'm aware of it, of course. But I will say that back in the day when I was just starting out, I never in a million years dreamed that I'd be, where I am today, still doing what I'm doing. It wasn't a goal, but it also wasn't it wasn't in the plan. The plan was to just do the best work possible, write the best songs, make the best records, put on a great show, play a better guitar part. It was all that kind of incremental thing, and I never looked at it in this kind of long range goal. It was just. But the fact that it's happening, and I even say this on stage sometimes, I say, if it wasn't for you people out there who are listening, I wouldn't be here. If you didn't love the songs and you didn't, relate to the music, and it's an incredible gift and an incredible honor to be able to still do this at my age and, and have people actually care.
If there were no long-term goals, what were the short-term goals that kept you going and motivated?
Well, kind of what I alluded to a minute ago. It was very incremental, like play a better show, write a better song, make a better record. It was all these little incremental goals that really, in the end, they add up to this final analysis and the final situation where I'm at now with this long, incredible career that's happened over the last 50 plus years. So, I come from a generation, obviously, my parents are the World War II generation, they were a very special breed of people, and they instilled a work ethic and I came from a middle-class family. We didn't have a lot, but we had enough. And, that was the way I grew up. And my dad worked 2 jobs, to make sure that we had what we needed. And so I have a very, very, powerfully ingrained work ethic. And I'm also a real fan of being a professional. I think that being a professional brings with it a certain responsibility. And I take a lot of pride in it, being really good at what I do and wanting to be compensated for it.
How does that come through on this new album, Oats? Because you're doing something that is very familiar yet new at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Because it's with a whole new generation of creatives around you.
Yes.
So does that play into the name and what it symbolizes?
It does. It's all tied together. And you picked up on it. The album, I've been in Nashville for 15 years. My move to Nashville in the early 2000s was something that I inherently needed to do, but I didn't know why. And when I got there, I became part of the Americana music community. I made friends with these great, artists like Jerry Douglas and Sam Bush and Bela Fleck and Jim Lauderdale and so on and so forth. And so over the past 10, 15 years, I've been playing in that sandbox. And it's been acoustic. It's all about authenticity. It's about storytelling. It's about quality playing and recording. And that's what I've done. And as I've kind of worked through that, I got to the point where I made this album a year and a half ago called Reunion. And I think it was my ultimate expression of this Americana experience that I've been really, deeply involved with in Nashville. But having done it, then I started to meet some younger artists. Here again, kind of what you alluded to. And these young artists opened a creative window to something else. And that was the soul, the R&B, the vintage soul, thing that is also a very big part of my musical DNA.
I was going to say, could you make the case that you
I
helped?
can't do it all at once, dude.
You helped create the sound. Like,
well, I know
they unlock something in you, but
I grew up playing folk music and blues and Americana, and so I really needed to. What I needed to do, which of course, as I said earlier, when I moved to Nashville, I didn't know what was happening. I just knew that I needed to do it. And what ended up happening, I rediscovered a portion of myself that I had set aside during all these amazing Hall & Oates years. Because the Hall & Oates experience was really about a collaboration and about a compromise, a creative compromise of sorts with Daryl. Because that's what a partnership has to be. You have to somehow... you have to somehow compromise certain things for the good of the whole, right? So having done that for, 30, 40 years, all of a sudden I said, I got to remind myself who I was musically. And this Americana experience, this move to Nashville, that's what happened. And so as I did it, I began to rediscover this part that had been kind of set aside during the Hall & Oates years, but it revealed who I was, but I wasn't that person anymore because I was older, more experienced, et cetera, et cetera. So I took the essence of that and I combined it with this incredible amount of experience that I've had, and I created a new version of that. I know, I don't want to get too convoluted with this.
No, you can hear it though. Like in Oates, you can hear this new version of what made the duo great. What really lent to your success long term?
It's in there.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah. It's wildly in there.
Thank you.
And it's more than just the tone of your voice. It's the lyrical context. It's the storytelling. It's the groove and the flow of the records. Mm-hmm. It's like very much there.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, I had set that aside, and I have to give props to some of my co-writers, especially in particular Devon Gilfillian. I don't know if you know Devon. Being from Philly, you might be aware of him.
Dude, he's more than just Philly.
I grew up in Northwest Pennsylvania, and I graduated from North Penn High School.
No way.
We're the same person.
Where's the mustache, dude?
My dad had one growing up. You and my dad look exactly the same.
Oh, you better catch up. No.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, unbelievable. All right.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, so we got a thing here.
I'm from New Jersey. It's whatever.
Okay, close enough. I met Devon in Nashville, and I have found... that when I collaborate with a younger generation of artists, there's a magic that happens because I can bring a certain level of experience and a certain my references are of a certain era and time, and they bring a certain energy and excitement and forward-looking approach, and their references are different. But combine them together and magic happens.
It's wild.
Yeah. And when I've been writing with older artists, artists of more of my generation, I find that we tended to kind of tread water creatively. We tended to use the same references, and it just felt old and stale. So I'm very, very, very excited about these new collaborations with the younger artists because I feel like I'm bringing something to the table for them and vice versa.
Enough is enough. Great collaboration with Lawrence. Mm-hmm. How does that collaboration even come together? Like, how do you run into them?
That was pure magic.
They're amazing.
We in my booking agent and some of the people I work with they're friends from New York with the Lawrence, with Gracie, Clyde, and the crew. I got turned on to them, and I was listening to them because I really needed a kick in the ass, inspiration-wise. I was writing a lot, but I felt like I was, it was good, but I wanted to do something more. And I listened to them, and the more I listened to them, what really struck me about them is the enthusiasm and joy and energy that their records had. And I wanted to grab some of that. I needed some of that. I felt like a vampire, I wanted to pull that out. And so I'm sitting in my house in Colorado, and I was really in the writing mode. And I said, you know what? I'm going to try to write a song that sounds like Lawrence. I kind of challenged myself. And so I began to do this thing. And all of a sudden I said, wow, it kind of sounds like something they might do. And then I got to the second verse and I ran out of steam. I had no second verse that was good. So So I started listening to them again, and I started taking lyrics from a portion of their song, and I said, well, let me as just a placeholder, let me just stick some of the Lawrence lyrics into my song and see what happens. And after I did it, I said, well, obviously I'm not going to steal their lyrics, so I made a demo. And I sent it to them, and I said, hey, guys, look, I just want you to know I put your lyrics in my song. If you like it, let's collaborate. If you don't, I'll change it. I'll write something else. But they loved it. And that was the beginning of the friendship and the collaboration. And then I went to New York, and we, Clyde played keyboards, and Clyde, Gracie, and I sang backgrounds, and then they did their lead parts. And it was great. So I just love them. I think they're everything that should be good about modern pop.
You are 100% on point. But just for clarity, you pitched yourself to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you were just...
You know what? They wrote me a little note. They said, hey, we really like a song, but I don't want to work with somebody who's my grandfather's age. No, they didn't say that. No, I go direct. I am a very direct person. I just, like with Devon Gilfillian, I ran into him at a gig in Nashville. And I just walked up to him and said, hey, man, I like what you do. You want to write a song? And he went, yeah, sure.
What song started it all?
That was Mending.
Great record.
And a great story about that. You know, when you get together with a songwriter, especially someone you don't know how it's going to go. You don't know whether you're going to click, whether the chemistry is going to be there. So I didn't know what we were going to do. I just had an innate sense that we would do something. With his Philly thing and I figured, we had some common ground to start with. So he comes over to the house, and my wife has a deck of tarot cards. So she literally holds out the tarot cards and said to Devon, pick one. So he pulls one out, and it said Mending. And I went, that's our song.
Wow.
And so we went in the music room, and we wrote the song.
And when do you know something like that is actually gelling?
When I get hairs on my arm stand up. I really mean it. It's the absolute, never fails acid test.
Does that test go back to Hall & Oates?
Yeah. Yeah, it's happened to me forever.
You have this gold standard of a collaboration and partnership, right?
Yeah.
That you're kind of putting everything against. Or do you have to not compare and contrast?
I don't compare it. I don't compare it. What Daryl and I did together was absolutely magical and unprecedented because we're so different as people. I mean, we couldn't be any more different as people. But at the same time, we had a commonality in the music that we heard growing up. He grew up in a town called Pottstown, Pennsylvania. I grew up in North Wales. We were listening to the exact same radio stations growing up. And in the early days, even the 50s and 60s, there were only two stations, and an R&B station. And so when we met, even though we didn't know each other, we met when we were in college age, we had the exact same musical lexicon that we could draw from. So I could say, hey, you remember that song by the Versatones? And he go, oh, yeah. So he knew it because we were listening to the same music. So that was the foundation of our musical relationship. What made it interesting was that we were so different as people. We brought something completely different to the partnership in terms of the personal dynamic.
Do you feel like that's kind of required for the success that you had, that push and pull that exists?
Yeah, in a way, yes, because it keeps the energy moving forward.
Even if you're going like this the whole way down.
There's legendary stories of the band. Look, like the Police, they're legendary. They had fist fights in the studio, for God's sakes. That's nothing new. Hey, having disagreements and having, whether disagreements are personal or whether they're professional, that's normal in any kind of working relationship.
If you guys were so different as people, what did each of you bring in the beginning that made it work originally?
Well, Daryl was a classically trained musician. His mother was a singer. He sang from the time he was a little baby and, played piano from the time he was 5 or whatever. He brought a very studied and, educated music approach. I grew up playing folk music, blues, roots music, and my sweet spot was the early days of rock and roll, Chuck Berry and Little Richard and stuff like that. And when we got together, we combined it. We combined those two things in some weird way. And at first it didn't work. It took us quite a while to find something that actually worked. Because here again, we were really coming at it from two different points. So he learned a lot from me about roots music and bluegrass and Delta blues and things like that. And I learned a lot from him in terms of music theory and how, his chord changes on the piano were very intricate and very unique. And I had to adapt those to my more, dare I say, primitive guitar style. So I became a better guitar player, and he learned about the roots of a lot of early American music. And that's what we combined. In Nashville, when I got there, and I'd start playing guitar, and everybody'd say, "Wait, you play like a piano player." I said, "Well, there's a reason for it." Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's a complementing that happens there. This is osmosis, this gelling, this morphing that exists.
Yeah.
When did you realize you had something, though? Because you said it took you a while.
It took us a while. We were very fortunate that we grew up in a time where you weren't, your entire creative life and career wasn't predicated on having a hit.
Thank you for saying that.
It's big.
Because one of the through lines we were talking about, you came in here and you said, I have to be the oldest person that you guys have interviewed. And then I rattle off a bunch of people who are older than you.
Here's the other old guys that we've talked to.
Here's like a list. But I got to say, the commonality between artists of that era and then really up until the 90s and early 2000s was that you were not judged on your first album. You maybe weren't even judged by your second album. Some people didn't have hits until 3 or 4 albums, 5 albums in.
Yep. The record companies signed artists because they actually believed in their talent.
Totally.
They believed that they could have a career, perhaps, if they were nurtured and if they were supported. And that was the era that Daryl and I started, and thank God, I'm eternally grateful for that. Atlantic Records, and Arif Mardin in particular, who was our early producer, he believed in us. And that's why we got the chance. We did 2 albums. We had nothing happened on the first album. Did a second album. We had She's Gone, which really didn't click as a big hit, although it was known as back in the day, they called it a turntable hit, meaning it got a lot of play, but it didn't get a lot of sales. And eventually it became a hit after Sarah Smile and Rich Girl and all that. But the record company believed in us. And they said, we think you guys are eventually you're going to figure this out. And we did.
Is it Abandoned Luncheonette that you figure it out?
No.
What is it?
Well, I think Abandoned Luncheonette to this day is one of our best albums, if not our best. Yeah. However, what happened was we made Whole Oats and Abandoned Luncheonette, neither of which was a commercial success. But because of that, we had no mandate to do it again. So we went and made an experimental rock album with Todd Rundgren, which also wasn't a commercial success. But we tried things, and we were probing and trying. And then when we made the Silver album, which we made here in L.A., that's when we had Sarah Smile, and that kind of opened the door to, I think that was the first time a sound began to coalesce.
But think about all the time and space you had to build it and figure it out.
4 albums, 5 years, basically. And we were with Atlantic for the first 3, and then we were with RCA after that. And RCA did the same thing. Over the years, we were with RCA from 74 until 86. No one from the record company ever walked into the recording studio while we were working. They didn't know what we were doing. We had, and I have to give some credit to our manager at the time, Tommy Mottola, for better or worse. One of the good things he did was to keep them out of our creative hair. And we would make our own album covers. We would make our own records. No one told us what to do. And then we'd hand it to them and say, okay, sell it. Figure it out.
Can we talk about the cover for Abandoned Luncheonette? It's just a diner.
Yeah.
It ends up becoming like a tourist attraction.
Yeah.
How did that even come to be?
Daryl used to eat at that diner when he was a kid. It was outside of Pottstown. And what happened was, actually, Daryl had written a song called Abandoned Luncheonette. And it was a great song. And I had my girlfriend at the time in Philadelphia, a gal named Barbara Wilson, was going to the Philadelphia College of Art. And she was experimenting with photolithographs.
Cool.
Yeah, and we just thought it'd be a cool image. And we went up there and took the pictures, and then she created this primitive lithograph, which is what you see on the album cover. And that's how it happened.
The decaying diner becomes this historic pop destination.
Well, people afterwards, people would come and they'd take pieces of it, and the owner got pissed off, and eventually they just knocked it down.
Yeah, in 2010, it was gone.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Also, what is it like creating art in that era, right? Like, even like the ability to have a friend who's doing that sort of photography. I mean, you were friends with Andy Warhol.
Yeah.
Like, you're creating around other incredible, eccentric creatives.
It was a very heady time. It was a great time. The 70s, and the 70s in particular for me, was the most special. The 80s were amazing too for other reasons. But because I think the 70s for me was a decade of becoming. The 80s were a kind of a victory lap in a sense. So I think it's always more exciting and interesting when something is happening, is being built and being discovered, and that's what the 70s was. Touring, every city was new, every experience was new, every venue was new, meeting new people. We'd go to radio stations and they'd play our music for the first time. It was all new and exciting. In the 80s, it was a whole different type of excitement. It was the excitement of being a pop star, and that was a whole other thing.
What were the similarities and what were the differences?
Well, we weren't pop stars in the 70s. We were like an underground band. In fact, when we went to England for the first time, I think New Musical Express, the English rock press, they hailed us as this hip underground band from Philadelphia. I was like, okay, sure, why not?
And in the 80s, you're riding the success
Well,
that you built in the 70s.
The 80s, what we did during the 70s, had we not done what we did in the 70s, the positives and the negatives wouldn't allowed us to have the success we had in the 80s. Because in the 80s, after a whole decade of using outside producers and studio musicians, we decided we were going to produce ourselves and we're going to use our own band, the same band that we were on tour with. And that changed everything. And that's why those 80s records are so powerful and so right, because we did them the way we wanted to do them.
Do you remember in 1984, you were speaking at a new music seminar in New York City?
Yep.
And you're on a panel.
I was sitting next to Madonna.
Yeah, and James Brown. And you guys discussed the role of music videos.
I remember it very well.
Okay.
We were the whole. I think somehow the conversation morphed into music videos because, of course, that was the au courant thing at the moment, right? MTV was just starting and all that, and we were at the beginning of MTV. We were friends with the guys who invented MTV. We were the first video VJs, all that stuff. So, sitting next to Madonna and. Let's put it this way: she's a very outspoken gal, and the subject came up about music videos. Now, of course, from her point of view, what she did, the music videos that she made, were part and parcel of what she was putting out to the public.
Totally.
The video and the music were kind of together, whereas Daryl and I just looked at music videos as another way of promoting ourselves. And in retrospect, I wish I would have paid more attention. But anyway. So when I was asked about it, I said, music videos are just a great ad. I never wanted to be an actor. I just want to be a musician. And she was like, she elbowed me and goes, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. She goes, music videos are the future. And you know what? She was right. And she's really got on me about it. And I said, well, and I remember sitting in the first row of the MTV Awards, or it was the Grammys, I can't remember, when she did Like a Virgin in the wedding dress and started rolling around the stage, if you look at the old videos. And I was going like, honestly, not realizing that the visuals that she was putting out at that time, especially for her, were really powerful. Totally. Because they put her on the map. They created this mystique and this
whole universe.
Her character was, you can say what you want to say about Madonna, but without Madonna, there would be no modern rock concerts.
100%.
Because the modern artists all doing exactly what Madonna did way back when, having dancers behind her. No rock band ever had dancers behind them, doing choreography and dancing and almost like kind of almost a Las Vegas kind of approach. But now that it's common that is what modern pop looks like.
By the way, the Out of Touch music video is great. It is iconic.
Well, we finally decided to actually pay attention to our videos. Because most of the videos we just said, whatever you guys want to do, we'll just do it.
You guys had like 3 videos that look exactly the same.
We'll just jump around in weird clothes.
Yeah,
and,
that's exactly what they were.
Yeah.
They were all shot the same.
Well, the Private Eyes video was our first video. So we were in SIR, which Studio Instrument Rentals, which is a rehearsal room in New York, right? And we were getting ready to go on tour, and literally our tour bus was on the sidewalk in Manhattan waiting for us. We were at our last rehearsal. We ran through the set, and there's nothing in there except a gray curtain. And so someone came in, and they came in with Private Eyes, fedoras, and trench coats and all this stuff. And we put the clothes on, and then we lip-synced Private Eyes. And we didn't know what to do. We didn't know what a video should look like. There was no precedent for it. We just did it. And if you look at an early Rolling stuff, or the Stones' first video, it looks exactly the same as our Private Eyes video. And it's really funny. If you ever want to look at the Private Eyes video, our bass player, T-Bone Wolk, who's, God rest his soul, one of the greatest musicians of all time, he had never done that. He was really nervous. He didn't know what to do. So he said, what do I do? I said, well, just stand there. Don't do anything. And every once in a while, just turn your head. And so watch the video sometime. He's just standing there, and every once in a while, he just turns his head.
It's iconic.
What's that?
It's iconic. Like, I mean, your thoughts on music videos today, though?
Oh, yeah.
Your views on it? Like, by the way, I can make the case that it is more of what you said today, just an ad for a song. It has been.
Well, it has kind of come back around. I mean, look at TikTok radio. I mean, songs are now just a 30-second hook.
Yeah.
They're not even, there's no verse, for God's sakes. So, yeah, it's really, well, the attention span, that's a whole other conversation. You're opening up a can of worms here of the modern era and what it really means to be creative. The world's attention span is gone. It's clickbait and this and that,
It's true. It's very, very true. Right? Even the difference between a lyrical video and a music video and like...
You got to grab somebody within a few seconds or else they're gone. They're off to the next thing.
What was it like meeting Andy Warhol and building a relationship with him?
Well, I lived in the Village, and Andy had his place on Cooper Union area, right, in Chelsea. And we had a lot of common friends in common, It was New York, as big a city as it is, even today, is really a small city in a sense, among the artists and among certain groups of, people. So I had some friends who worked for Andy, and he would come to our shows, or, I remember one of the stupidest things I've ever done in my life was I was at at the workshop, his, where he painted and did all his stuff. And I'm walking around, and he said, oh, if you see anything you like, just grab it. And I was like, oh, okay. And I'm walking around, and I didn't buy anything. I mean, he would have sold it to me for nothing. And I know it's insane because I'm not very bright. I may be creative sometimes, but I'm not that smart. So I always remember, I said, oh my God, I could have bought Marilyn's and Muhammad Ali's and all those classic, paintings that are worth millions of dollars.
I mean, pieces now that really go for dozens of millions.
Oh yeah,
hundreds of millions.
And he literally said, "Oh, well, if you see anything you like, just just take it." I was like,
"What do you learn from someone like him?"
From him?
Yeah,
he was a very interesting. He was a very strange and interesting guy. He was from Pittsburgh, and he, you had to see through what I think he was groundbreaking about him, not only his art, the fact that he took reality, took everyday life, and somehow transmuted it into something artistic. But he did that not only with his paintings and his artwork, but he did that with himself. The blonde, the white wig, the glasses. He was very self-aware of that thing that he was. And he was always Andy Warhol. It was a brand. He was branding himself, branding the image of himself before branding became popular.
A lot of things in common with music, no? And a pop star?
Well, yeah, I mean, he saw pop as he saw ways of that popular culture could be redefined in a way.
Nobody like him.
Yeah, no, he was
Right?
a very interesting guy.
Do you believe that like that era of artists, do you think it would exist again? Like understanding the type of creatives that are out there, you've worked with younger people. Do you think that that type of creative will ever exist the way it used to?
Well, I think it's all around us all the time. The problem is that it's, you know, how do you find it? How does it cut through? How does one particular artist or one particular genre or style of artist, how does it cut through this massive, you know, overload of input that's happening to us all the time? You know, people ask about, is there any, you know, is there great modern, you know, music? Of course there is. There's incredible music out there, but you have to find it. And how do you find it? How do you separate it, the wheat from the chaff, so to speak, you know?
At a certain point in your life, you were just getting 2 to 3 sync requests a week. Is that correct?
Yeah, still.
And they all come to you?
Just got 2 this week.
Anything good?
Yeah, great.
They're all good, right?
They're all good.
What songs are they looking at?
Oh, it's always the same songs. It's You Make My Dreams Come True. It's Maneater. It's Out of Touch. It's every once in a while there's an outlier, like Every Time You Go Away, or there's Rich Girl, of course.
Are there things you'll say no to?
What's that?
Are there things you'll say no
Yeah,
to?
very well. Only if it's objectionable. Only if it's really objectionable on any number of levels. But most of the time, it's they're pretty good.
What did you think of 500 Days of Summer when you first got the request in?
The song You Make My Dreams Come True, you have to remember, when that song came out, it wasn't a massive hit. It wasn't like some of the other number one records. In fact, it was never released in England or Europe or Japan or anything like that. And so the 500 Days of Summer was really the thing I think that catapulted that song into the social consciousness of the new generation. And I'll tell you a story about it. I was at the Grove. My son, my wife, and I were at the Grove walking around one day. And I knew that the song was in this movie, 500 Days of Summer, but I didn't know anything about it. And it was in the afternoon, so we were like cruising around. We said, let's go and see it. So it was like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So we go into the movie theater and we sit down, and it's the 3 of us, my son, my wife, and I, and then there was about 4 or 5 teenage girls, and they were sitting a little away from us, right? And we were the only people in the theater, and I didn't know what to expect. So the scene comes on where the song begins to play. He's dancing in the park, and animated birds are on his shoulders, and it's this beautiful, like, you know, love, you know, it's infatuation, and the song just, to me, it was that moment where film and music just went like this, crunk, and the girls started clapping and cheering. And I was like, whoa, my hair's...
That's crazy.
My hair and my arms are standing up. No, I really mean it. It actually happened. And at that moment, I realized, okay, wait a minute, something has just happened here. And that was really a moment. And I realized that something had clicked. And from that point on, that song took on a life of its own.
Rich Girl was your first number one, right?
Right.
Do you remember what it was like when you guys saw that song taking off, and did you have any idea that was going to be the one?
Yes, I remember it very well. We were in Kansas City playing a show, and we had a night off. And we used to always love to go to barbecue joints wherever we were. Around
Where's better than Kansas City for fucking barbecue?
Kansas City barbecue, and the South, you know, anywhere. So we found this really obscure barbecue joint out in the suburbs or outside of the city, and so we had a limo, and it was like 3 or 4 of us from the band, and we all went to the barbecue place. So we had barbecue, and we finish, and we come out, and the limo's gone. Now we're kind of in the hood, right? And we're in the ghettos, and we're like, okay, this is not great. And in those days, there was no Uber or taxis. You couldn't find. So we're basically just stranded in front of this barbecue joint. So this pickup truck comes along with a guy and a gal in it, and they must have been fans or something. And they stopped, and we said, hey, we really need a ride back to the hotel. And the guys, say, yeah, get in. So I remember getting in the back. There was so much firewood. So I was sitting on the firewood. Some people were in the front. We were in the back. And so Rich Girl comes on the radio in the pickup truck. And it had just gone to #1 that day. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. And the people, the couple, they're freaking out. We're freaking out. And we're in a pickup truck, getting a ride back to the hotel.
That song is about a rich guy, right? Not a rich girl.
Well, yeah, it was inspired by a guy who was kind of a trust fund baby, and and Daryl. It's really Daryl wrote that song. I didn't write it, it was he got the idea from that, and it was a friend of Sarah from college, and the guy was just kind of someone who had lost his way in a way, and Daryl just really, he really took that kernel of truth and turned it into something, basically universal, which is what great songs are all about.
100%. Does that guy know the song's about him?
I don't know.
It works.
Maybe.
We don't care.
No.
It's the way it should be. By the way, you can listen to the brand new album, Oats. It's waiting for you. It's on Amazon Music. Why did Walking to Memphis make an appearance at the end of this album?
Well, I'll tell you why. I got asked to do The Masked Singer.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I had never even saw the show. But all my team said it would be good for my social media.
They're not wrong.
They're not wrong. So I signed on to do it. And, they decided to put me in this really weird Anteater costume. Anteater, Maneater.
I get it.
Yeah. So I did it. So I go out there. Now they don't let you just sing anything you want. They have themes for the various episodes. And the first episode, they gave me a list of about 8 or 10 songs, said pick one. And I always liked the Mark Cohen, song, and I said, well, I'll do that one. But I want to do it in kind of a, a little bit more up-tempo R&B version of it. And when I got to sing it, I really felt good about it. I loved the way it felt, and I thought I performed it really well, even though I was in that crazy costume. So that's why
it's a crazy experience, that show, right?
But can I tell you a little? So I made it through the first couple episodes. Then on a Sunday night, I was booked to play the Newport Folk Festival, which was a on bucket list thing for me.
It's a huge deal.
I really was excited about it. It was a Sunday night. We had about a 5 o'clock slot. I had to be in LA on the soundstage at 8:30 the following morning. So I played the show, 5 o'clock, acoustic, kind of folky blues show, jump in a car, go to Logan Airport in Boston, get the red eye, show up in LA at about 2:30 in the morning, get to the hotel. Now it's like 3:30. I think I slept, maybe not. I took a shower, had to get in that crazy costume and be on the set and sing. So I was kind of out of it. And I started to faint inside this crazy head with the big shoes and this huge, it was, first of all, I couldn't see out of it because the eyes were up here. So I had to look at the wall and walk around the stage, not knowing where I really was, but I knew if I took 10 steps to the left, I'd be where I needed to be. And there was a mark on the wall. It was weird. So, but I started to faint inside the suit. And then I got eliminated. And when I got eliminated, I was literally, my knees were shaking, and it was TV. And they took the head off, and I was sweating, and I was like, thank God I lost, because I don't ever want to come back here again. No, and yeah, that's it.
It sounds like hell.
It was bad. I have to say, it was bad. It was hot, and
the precautionary measures that they take to keep your identity hidden, right, is really extreme.
Oh yeah, they give you. I don't know if I'm supposed to give all this stuff away, but I guess it doesn't matter anymore. They give you a sweatshirt, a black sweatshirt that says "Don't talk to me" on it. They give you, and it's a hooded sweatshirt. They give you a mask, a big, it looks like a welder's mask, and then they give you gloves. And you have to wear that when you come out of your room in the hotel. And you have to walk through the lobby of your hotel, get in a limo, go to the soundstage, and you have to keep it on when you get out of the limo, walk through the soundstage to your trailer, and only then can you take it off. And then when they need you, you have to put it back on, go do your rehearsal, vocal rehearsal or choreography or whatever it might be. And then when it's time for the show, you go into another room where you take that off, and then they put the suit on you. And that takes about 45 minutes to put the suit on.
The suit's crazy. I don't even know how
crazy.
You were able to perform at all in that.
The shoes were like size 15, the giant boots. But what they did was they took a pair of sneakers that were my size, and they glued them inside the shoe. So I'd put my foot in, they'd tie the sneaker onto my foot, and then put the boot was on top of it. It was weird. And I really, it was.
Couldn't wait to lose.
But I had to do choreography. It was crazy. I mean, the choreography consisted of, and I told them, I said, I can't dance around in this thing. And they said, you don't have to. Just, here's what you do. On the first verse, walk 10 steps forward and stop. And they work the dancers around me. And then on the second verse, take 5 steps to the left, 5 steps to the right. So I had to do this while I was in the suit and performing.
What is there what part? Why do you continue to do these things? Like Masked Singer, continue to make music. I mean, and there's a difference between needing to do it, which I think you're that type of person. Like you just have this desire, innate, like you need to do something.
Well, I'm interested in trying new things.
But the reality is, like, you don't either. Like you literally could do nothing.
It's not about having to do it. It's experience. It's all about experience. Had I known what the Masked Singer would have ended up like, I wouldn't have done it, to be honest with you. But now that it's in my rearview mirror, it doesn't matter.
You're stronger because of it, man.
Well, sort of. And then, we did, I did the version of Walking in Memphis for the record. And then we got Grabbits to do a EDM version. I don't know if you heard that or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's extreme. And I just thought that was really cool. So
I just like that the album is great because it is so you and nostalgic, yet young and different and very present.
Thanks.
And
that's a compliment.
you take challenges.
Yeah, I do. I like it.
It's the right way to be.
Yeah.
You should listen to it, by the way. There's a link below.
I heard it. It's great.
Yeah.
Did you just tell me to listen to my own record?
Yeah. He gives it 2 thumbs up. But did you hear that Michael Jackson famously confessed that one of your
Michael Jackson. No, stop right there. Did you hear that Michael Jackson famously confessed? No. Just leave that. Just don't go any further than that.
He famously confessed though that I Can't Go For That is really, that bass line is what inspired the bass line to Billie Jean.
Yeah. He came backstage at one of our shows. It was at the Hollywood Bowl or something. I can't remember where we were. He came back with one of his brothers, and he told me, and he said to me and Daryl, we were standing there, and he said, he goes, I like to dance to No Can Do in front of my mirror. I said, oh, that's good. Thanks. Great. Obviously, he dug the groove, and there you go.
Have you been inspired by artists in that way?
Yeah, Lawrence. We just talked about it. Every musician is inspired and influenced by the stuff they hear, and especially the stuff they hear when they're young. Growing up, it's an indelible imprint on your musical DNA, your personal DNA. In fact, during my live show, the show that I'm doing currently, I do a section of the show in the middle. I call it the songs that made me, and I always pick some songs that were influential to me as a kid growing up. And I think the audience really likes it. And it also, I think what it does is it shows a direct link between the music I'm making now and also some of the Hall & Oates music as well, and the music that made me want to play the guitar and sing. So there's a definitely, it makes a musical connection. And it's fun for me because I get to pay tribute to some of these great artists and songs. Where does your love for reggae stem from? Because there is a little bit of reggae on this new album, and then Maneater wasn't that supposed to be a reggae song? It was. Well, I had just come back from Jamaica when I got the idea for Maneater, and then of course when Daryl and I got together, I wrote the chorus as a reggae song, like here she come, papa, watch out, boy, she gonna chew you up, and I thought that was pretty cool, right? And then Daryl and I got together, and he's like, reggae, I don't know if that works for Hall & Oates, let's do this instead. And he was right, and he came up with the boom, 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 which is like a Motown ripoff, basically. But then 2 years ago, I went to Kingston, and I re-recorded it with the guys who played with Jimmy Cliff and Bob Marley and some of the best reggae musicians, in Jamaica. And we put that out as a reggae version. Now I do a hybrid between the Hall & Oates version and a reggae version. It's kind of I don't know what it is, but it's pretty cool.
Oats is waiting for you. There's a link below. Also, all of Hall & Oates is available on Amazon Music, so you can listen to the entire catalog of John's and Hall & Oates. I mean, there was something going on in 2022. It was between you and Daryl in regards to your catalog and the ownership of. Is it IP? Is it publishing? What were you guys getting into? What was actually at stake?
Well, look, I mean, Daryl and I have amicably agreed to separate our business interests. That's the bottom line. And we're both pursuing whatever it is we want to pursue. We were partners for over 50 years, and the partnership was predicated on a lot of things. And we were kids. We entered into a business relationship that was, quite frankly, out of date, because when you enter into a business relationship that's 50 years old, and all of a sudden you're 70, you're not the same person. The business is not the same. So a lot of things changed, and it was just time for us to move on. I'm really, I felt it was important. I think there's a timestamp on creativity. I see it. I'm very aware of it, and I feel like I really can play. I can sing. I can think. I can still travel, and there, but for fortune, go you or I. I don't want to rely on a whole bunch of cliches, but you just pull the wrong card out of the deck and the house of cards collapses. So I wanted to make sure that I could at least see through my creative life in a way that was completely unencumbered and complete 100% authentic to who I am right now.
That is vitally important, right? And
yes.
A part of that is getting your affairs in order, right?
Yeah. All those things.
Owning things that are timeless assets and pieces of IP that, I mean, when both of you are gone, probably 100 years, 200 years, these songs will probably still be in existence, generating revenue, helping push culture forward.
Well, I have a wife and a son to think about. I have a legacy to think about and that I'm proud of and I want to protect. So, all those things are important. And so the moves that I've had to make and the moves that I made were critically important at this juncture in my life.
Where do the two of you sit today? Are you amicable? Are you friends?
No, we're just, no.
Were you ever friends?
Of course we were friends. When we started out, we were inseparable, but we were kids and we were building something. And as we built it, we were still very, very, very much, friendly, working together, and really working hard because we had the same vision. But as time went on, as we both got older and our life experiences changed, our relationships changed, then we started to just not have the same goals anymore. And that's really what happened.
What do your goals become?
My goals became to, as I just said, to really realize and finish out my creative career in a way that's 100% unencumbered and 100% pure in terms of what I want to do.
How do you measure success today? How do you define it?
I measure success by the fact that my family is taken care of, and that I'm happy, and that I'm really doing exactly what I want to do.
Oats is an amazing album. You got to listen to it.
Thank you.
Pushing a Rock, Mending, Enough is Enough. I came in singing Enough is Enough today.
I said, enough is enough.
Yes.
How about that Clyde and Gracie? They're amazing. I love those guys.
Nobody like them. Nobody like you either.
Thank you.
I really thank you for your time today.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
You good?
Well, I wanted to ask off what you were saying. Could you and Daryl ever see yourselves sharing a stage again?
I doubt it. No, not. I won't say I doubt it. I would say no.
What would it take?
Nothing. It's not about money. It's not about anything. I think that, that ship has sailed. And well, if you want to go a little deeper into this, I would like people to remember Hall & Oates in its prime. I would like people to remember Daryl and myself in our prime when we were singing at our best, we were writing at our best, producing at our best. That's Hall & Oates to me. A a redo of that or trying to revitalize that is impossible. And not to disparage older artists who still want to, want a piece of the, of the spotlight and stay in the spotlight. There comes a time when you're just not yourself anymore. You're not on your game the way you were. I'd rather have people remember the music. I'd hate to go out there and play the old hits and not have them sound as vibrant and as punchy and as great as those records.
How do you know if you don't try?
Well, I tried for a long time.
I appreciate your time and honesty
Thank you.
today. Really, you're iconic.
Oh, thanks, man.
No, dude, thanks for hanging out.
Hey, North Wales.
North Wales, North
I
Penn.
can't believe it. That's
I know.
amazing. Amazing.
Thank you.
All right.
John
thank you.
Oates, everybody.